Well, today I wanted to talk about the struggles that come with having a chronic illness and how to deal with them. Now, so first of all, I guess we'll start off with the struggles. One thing that's very common is that people don't believe that you're sick. And I know that sounds crazy, but it happens a lot of times because a lot of illnesses you can't see on the outside. Like someone could appear perfectly normal. Like, for example, the actress slash singer Selena Gomez. She looks beautiful and healthy, but she's not. I think she struggled with lupus. I could be wrong about that, but I think she had lupus. And I know for sure she had to have a kidney transplant. And now, just today, I read that because of complications from her kidney transplant, she's also dealing with emotional struggles that come with that. So, sometimes you can look at someone and think that they're fine, and they're really not, and they're having a difficult time. And the way that affects someone who's struggling with an illness is it can make them start to not start to think, well, maybe I am making too much of a big deal about this. Maybe it's more here than it is really physical. It can make them start to doubt themselves, in other words. Um, I know that I have a couple of illnesses, and before I was diagnosed, I knew something was wrong with me, but I didn't know what it was. And it was, it was kind of embarrassing. People would ask, like, why you seem a little tired today? You look fine, but you seem tired. And I have to be like, well, I was up all night throwing up. And they think, oh, what's wrong with you? You drink or something? No, I wasn't drinking. I don't know what's wrong with me. Or, I remember also before I was diagnosed, sometimes I would just break out in these horrible hives. And I didn't know why. And I remember my aunt actually telling me it's probably all in your head. You probably get anxious about thinking that you're going to get hives, and so then you get hives. So it's really just up here. And I remember looking at her and thinking, I I don't think that's what it is because I'm not really an anxious person. But maybe she's right. And I started thinking maybe something's just wrong with me mentally. And I don't, but no. It turned out I was diagnosed with celiac disease and with a really weird thyroid disorder. It's like it goes back and forth from hyper to hypo. Like my thyroid is just all over the place and it makes your body do crazy things. So that's what it was. But sometimes like that moment right before you get your diagnosis and you're trying to figure out what the heck is wrong with your body, other people might think it's just in your head and it makes you question yourself too. Or even if you've already been diagnosed and you look perfectly healthy, other people might be like, you said you missed work yesterday because you were sick, but you look fine to me. So they might not understand, and that can make you feel really, really bad. So that's one of the struggles that comes with having an illness, um, like a struggle that isn't directly from the illness itself, but just from living in society with a sickness. Another thing that can happen is you get burnt out trying different home remedies and cures. Um, like these days, a lot of people, myself included, get tired of traditional medicine that you get from a doctor who gives you a prescription. You just get tired of dealing with the side effects and then having to pay so much money for the medication. So you start to think, well, maybe I'll try some natural home remedies or natural medicine. And that, I'm going to tell you, I've spent so much money going to homeopathic doctors and trying all kinds of concoctions and weird things that made me get sicker. And it kind of like burnt me out. And that's another thing. It's just trying medication after medication and not finding a real solution. And it can just make you feel like a little bit hopeless. Um, yeah, and it's not a fun feeling to go through that. Another thing that can happen is just feeling sad because when your body gets physically worn out because of um, the wear and tear that the illness puts on it, it can make you start to feel emotionally burnt out and sad. And you might want to kind of isolate yourself. And then that can make you feel even sadder. So, usually having like a really bad physical illness, it can also lead to, your emotions getting, going like on a downward spiral. So those are some things that can happen when you're dealing with a chronic illness. But um, people who struggled with that for a while and who've been successful will tell you that it is possible to have a full life while having a chronic illness. Like the illness doesn't have to take over your entire life. Yes, it does. It does change your routine a bit, but it doesn't define who you are or set your destiny in stone. Your life is still yours to live. And some ways to cope with the struggles that come with having the illness, would be like to learn how to talk about what's bothering you. One thing that happened with me is because a lot of people didn't think I was, not a lot of people, but a few people kind of questioned whether or not I was sick, I stopped talking about my symptoms. And that actually was very dangerous. Like I started to hide my symptoms, and I almost died actually from doing that because I didn't want to tell anybody because I didn't want to look like an idiot, So it's dangerous. Don't do that. It's better to be open about what you're going through. It doesn't necessarily mean talk to everybody on the street, your Uber driver. Hey, guess what? I can't eat gluten because I have celiac disease. You don't have to tell everybody that. But, if you have a trusted friend, talk to your friend about it. Tell them, I tried a new medicine and I don't think it's working, and just kind of explain what you're going through so that they can have a better understanding of what it's like to live with your illness. And that'll make them more empathetic and understanding and maybe draw them closer to you. Also, if you want to have like a YouTube channel and talk about what you're going through on YouTube, that can really help other people who have a similar condition. It can make them feel more normal. Like, for example, I know being an INFP is not an illness, it's just a personality type. But it is, we're kind of weird. Let's just say that. But when I went on YouTube and found other INFPs talking about what it was like to be an INFP, like, I can't tell you how less alone that made me feel, to see that there are other people like me out there who don't quite fit in with normal society, who are a little bit quiet on the outside, but like full of so many emotions on the inside. So in a similar way, like if someone else hears your experience about what it's like to go through whatever illness you have, that might that might give them the impetus to want to keep living. Who knows? They may have been like suicidal before they saw your video, and then that might give them a little bit more hope. So yeah, be open. Talk about what you're going through with your friends, and maybe on a public forum even, to help encourage other people. Another thing is to learn your limitations and learn when to say no. And this is something that I'm still learning. Um, with most illnesses, it's very important that you get your rest. And life in this world is not about getting rest. It's all about do as much as you can, as fast as you can. You gotta live life. You gotta live it hard. Well, really, you need to get your rest. That's what's important. You gotta take care of you before you can do anything else. So that's where learning to say no to people and to fun things that you might want to do comes in handy. It doesn't mean you can't do anything, but just learn your limitations. Like maybe maybe you have to work full time because you can't get disability with your illness. So you have to hold a regular job. But you do want to have some fun. So like on the weekends, you want to go out with your friends and have a life. But maybe it would be good to do that on just one day during the weekend. Maybe do that on a Saturday, and on Sunday use that morning to recuperate, like sleep in late. And if someone bugs you and saying, "Can you come help me do this? Can you come help me do that?" Just let them know you have to say no. And it's not unkind to say no to someone when you don't have the energy to give them your best. Because if you want to be there for your friend, you want to be there in the best way possible. But if you're there about to faint and pass out, or you're making yourself sicker, that's not going to do your friend any good, and it's going to make them feel really guilty if something bad happens to you. So learn to say no when you don't have the energy to do something. And yeah, it's definitely a struggle and something I'm still working on, like I said. And what else was there? Oh yeah, I guess so. That's just it. That's it. Those 2 points can be really helpful. And my mom is a good example of that. She has lupus, and she's been diagnosed with it for a very long time. But she's one of the most energetic people I know. And part of it is because she's learned when to say no to people. She's very upfront. She'll tell her friends, "I'm sorry, I can't go anywhere today. I'm having a day." And she'll stay in bed for the whole day basically. And then the next day she's ready to get up and do her regular crazy routine of activity that she does, which I don't know how she does that. And and she's also pretty open with people about her how she's feeling. And the way she does it is she's open without complaining. Like, she'll even kind of jokingly sometimes show people her swollen ankles, because that's what her illness does. Sometimes it makes her all swollen and like really, really swollen in her legs and stuff. She'll kind of jokingly show people like, "Hey, look at this, see? And it really hurts too. It's terrible." But so people they know that she's, I don't want to say delicate, but I guess it's a good word. They know that she's struggling with an illness, and it makes them more empathetic and more understanding. But at the same time, she doesn't use her sickness as an excuse. She still works just as hard as anyone else. But she lets people know why she might be absent one day here and there. It just helps when we're all open with each other, I think, about anything, even if it's not an illness. It's just good for us to let other people in. so that we all have a better understanding of what each other's going through. So anyway, that's basically it. And if you're struggling with a chronic illness or you have to live with one, um, my heart goes out to you because that's not easy. But I hope that you learn, or that as you continue to to live with it, you're you're able to find peace and happiness, and even encourage others who might be going through something similar. So, all right, that's it. Have a good day. Bye.